Who are your mentors? Where do you get your life lessons from? Whether you're a property investor, a business owner, a professional, we need to keep growing to get to the next level. And today we're going to talk about 10 life lessons you can learn from dogs. Now, I've always loved dogs. I've had one for much of my life, but with our still heavy travel commitments, unfortunately Pam and I don't have a dog at present, but we enjoy the company of our two cats, Bentley and Harley. But there are lots of lessons you can learn from dogs. That's what we're going to discuss in today's Build a Business, Not a Job monthly podcast that I conduct with Mark Creedon. Now, even if you're not in business or planning to have one, today's lessons are very valuable as life lessons, as lessons in further success. So welcome to today's episode of the Michael Yardney podcast.
Welcome to the Michael Yardney podcast, where twice each week you will learn a number of new ideas regarding success, property investment and money in around 30 minutes. Our show is brought to you by Metropole, who specialise in helping you grow, protect and pass on your wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. Now here's your host, Michael Yardney, Australia's most trusted property commentator who has once again been voted Australia's leading property investment advisor. That's the fifth time he's won a similar award in the last 7 years.
We're living through challenging times. We've got to learn, we've got to improve, we've got to get lessons from wherever we can. Whether you're a business owner, a professional, a property investor, who do you get your inspiration from? Where do you learn your lessons? Well, recently I read a blog written by my business partner, Mark Creedon, founder of Business Accelerator Mastermind, that his dogs taught him some lessons. So let's have a chat with Mark about 10 things dogs can teach us, not just about business, but about life in general. Welcome, Mark.
Hello, Michael. Good to be here.
Now, I was fascinated by your article. In fact, I got a lot of inspiration and lessons from it as well. So let's work through what your dogs have taught you about life. What's the first lesson?
Well, Michael, the thing that I love about dogs, and therefore the first lesson, is that they live in the moment. Dogs just live in the moment. They don't worry about the past. They don't think about the future. They live in the moment. They live in the right here, the right now. They absorb what's going on around them right at the moment, Michael.
That's what kids do a bit too, isn't it? I think there's a lesson you can learn there.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is that we know that in business we can't just ignore the past. We've got to learn from the past. We can't obviously ignore the future. We've got to plan for the future. But I think often that we spend so much time thinking about what worked or what didn't in the past, or what might work or what might not in the future, that we forget to take advantage of where we are right now and being grateful for what we have right now, both in our life, in our business, and just taking advantage of the situation as it exists in front of us.
Now, Mark, being grateful, I think, is a really important point. In other words, you're not ever going to be wealthy, you're not ever going to be rich unless you're grateful. And at the moment, there are a lot of challenges being thrown at us in all directions from the world, but we are still living in the best country in the world. Where else would you really want to be? At a time in history that's going to go down in memory. We're in the middle of making history as well. So let's be grateful that we're here and that we're going to get through it. And lesson number 2 you suggested is dogs have found ways to overcome their fears, which is, I think, something many of us need to do at the moment.
Yeah, it is 100%. So at the moment, there is a lot of fear, there's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a couple of things that people do. They can sort of decide to batten down the hatches, do nothing. In fact, shut things down. And we've seen some people who have done that. And I fear for where they're going to be in the future. They're probably not going to survive. Then there's others who just decide they're not going to completely batten down the hatches, but they're just going to sit there and they'll kind of ride it out. But there are those, Michael, what we call the green liners, the people on the green line. They're the people who are really going to overcome that fear. They're going to move on. And I think that's something that the dogs do really well. I had a German Shepherd, my last German Shepherd before this one, and he was a trained protection dog. And he was very brave, very, very brave. But he was absolutely terrified of storms. And Michael, anytime there was a storm, he would find a way to get into the house and he would crawl under the bed. And he had to crawl on his belly to get under the bed. But the point about that is he felt safe there. He found a way to move past his fear. He came up with a coping mechanism that worked for him. And that's what I think we should be doing in the current times. So the point is, I mean, how do you cope with fear? What's your coping mechanism? I know my father always used to say that fear knocked on the door, courage answered, and there was no one there. So now's the time to dig deep, find that courage, and to push past that fear.
So the lesson from dogs is to move past your own fears and find your own coping mechanisms. What's your third lesson from dogs, Mark?
Yeah, well, I really like this one, Michael. Dogs don't hold grudges. So you asked me earlier if I went for my morning walk, and I said actually I didn't go for a walk this morning. At the time I wrote this blog, it was one of those days as well, unfortunately. But my dog didn't ignore me all day. He didn't turn his back on me. He didn't, he still came for a pat. He still came for attention. Dogs don't hold grudges, and I think it's one of the big things that holds us back. We talk about limiting beliefs and poor mindsets. Holding a grudge. All holding a grudge does at the end of the day is hold you back. 9 times out of 10, it actually isn't affecting the person you're holding the grudge against. So it is holding you back.
That's a really good point. So look for something that's holding you back. Let's put it differently. Something that you're still holding on to that you should have let go, because that's going to make your life vastly different. You're going to have a massive weight lifted off your shoulders and you're going to be able to move forward. That's a good lesson to learn from dogs. I also like the fact that dogs enjoy their playtime.
Yeah, it's really important, I think. Dogs play, they play every day. I read this article by Dr. Stuart Brown, who's a psychologist out of Harvard in the United States, and he was saying that play is like oxygen. And it's like oxygen for 2 reasons. One, if you breathe it in, if you actually practice it, you'll live. But more importantly, it's actually around us all the time. It's there for the taking. And what we do is, as adults, we forget how to play. You made the comment before that, one of the lessons from dogs is similar to kids, and kids do this really well as well, don't they? They play, they take advantage of the opportunity to play. So there's a couple of things about play, Michael. First of all, there's a physical movement aspect of it. If we get out and play, we play with the kids, we throw the ball for the dogs, whatever it might be, we do things that actually create physical movement and get our bodies moving. But the other thing is the psychological well-being, the mental health, the release of the dopamines and all the neuropsychology that goes around actually getting out and doing something active to play, to give yourself that little injection of good feeling and positive energy.
So here's the challenge. What's something that you could do that puts you more into a play mode? And what can you do in the next day or two that actually is a form of play? Enjoy. Yes, there's lots of challenges around us at the moment, but look for the good things in life. Jump for joy. Be happy, Mark. That's another lesson you can learn from dogs.
I love the fact that dogs do that. They just jump for joy. In fact,
they do, don't they? They love jumping up on you.
They do. And you can go out for 5 minutes. And when you come back, it's like you've been away for 3 years. The dogs haven't seen you for that period of time. But it just got me thinking about that as for us as humans. And at the moment, when was the last time we just showed some unbridled joy? What was something that excited us and pleased us and we took advantage of it? And Michael, in business as in life, there's lots of reasons to be serious and to be caught up in the issues that are going on and having to deal with problems and problem solving. How much easier is it to find the resources to solve those problems if we're actually taking some time to focus on something that makes us happy, to actually jump for joy?
Now, I find it interesting because at the time of us recording this, we're still both socially distancing. When people listen to this, the restrictions may well have been removed, but you're working from home and your dogs are probably jumping for joy. They're so excited and pleased to see you. Pam and I have cats and they're looking at us wondering, what are you doing here all day? So here's another challenge for you, the people listening to this podcast. Think about something that makes you happy. Now, why aren't you doing that more often? When's the last time you jumped for joy about something that really makes you happy? Mark, as we work through our list of lessons that we can learn from dogs, there's some great things dogs can teach us that you mentioned. What's the next one?
Michael, dogs accept who they are. And so dogs, they don't want to be another dog. They don't wish they were another breed. They don't wish they were somewhere else. They just accept who they are. And that kind of links back to what I said before about living in the moment. And I think the advantage of that is that, see, one of the things that we often do, and you say this quite a lot, is we hop on Facebook and we see how amazing everybody else's life is. What you see on Facebook is the highlight reel. Nobody ever shows you what's on the cutting room floor. So dogs don't compare themselves to other dogs. They're just happy to accept who they are. The important part of that for me, for us, is that if we accept who we are and that where we are right now is exactly where we're meant to be, if we accept that, then that forms the basis for us to be able to move forward and say, well, do you know what? I accept this is where I am. It's actually not where I want to be. So now I'm going to take some steps to move to somewhere else, to take things to the next level.
That's one of the things that I've always spoken about in my mentorship program. If people want to understand what level of wealth they're programmed for, what their wealth operating system is set for, I say, look at what you've got at the moment, because that's exactly what you're most comfortable with. And people will say, oh, that's not fair, Michael. My boss isn't looking after me, or the government hasn't given me enough of a handout, or my business isn't good at the moment. The answer is you are where you are because of all the decisions you've chosen to make and the decisions you've chosen not to make. And there will always be outside factors, external factors affecting you. But again, while this is our Build a Business, Not a Job podcast, this applies not just to business people and professionals, but all of us in life. You are where you're meant to be. And even if you're not, accept that as a concept at the moment, and then you can move forward. Because if you don't accept the cause of all the effects that you've done, you're the result of all the decisions you've made and chosen not to do, you're never going to get to the next level, Mark. You actually are in control of your life. You're the pilot. Don't just be a passenger.
Yeah, 100%.
Next lesson, Mark.
Michael, one of the things I love about dogs is they enjoy the journey. So if I say to my dogs, we're going to go for a walk, they don't sort of look at me and go, well, hang on a second. Where are we going first? I need to know where we're going. Or, you drive along and you see dogs in the car, they're hanging their head out the window. They don't really care about where they're going. They just enjoy the journey. And I think that's something that we can learn a lot about. We talk in business and in life, we talk a lot about setting goals, and we know the importance of setting goals. But one of the things that we do in Mastermind is we make sure that we don't just set destination goals, that we set journey goals along the way as well, that we're actually making sure that we're enjoying the journey as we work toward ultimate goals, Michael.
You've got to enjoy the journey, otherwise you won't enjoy the destination. So you've got to celebrate your achievements along the way. I guess it's another way of staying in the moment and being happy. Interesting how all these sort of link to each other. But let's go back a step. We talked about goals. Yes, my dogs probably don't set goals because they don't think about the future. But one of the lessons, whether you're an entrepreneur, a business person, a property investor, is the importance of goals. And you just skimmed over it, but it's such an important point. I'd like to bring it back that long-term goals are important, but if they're too far out, you're not going to achieve it either. So you need those intermediate goals, Mark.
Yeah, you do, Michael. So it's funny when people talk about, what's my 10-year goal or your 20-year goal, and it's just too far out because who knows what's going to happen. And as you said, we're recording this, we're in the middle of a lockdown that nobody would have predicted. So whilst it's great to have those long-term goals, you also need to think about, that's where I want to be long-term. Where do I want to be in 3 months' time and 6 months' time and 12 months' time? And they are really the journey goals. They're the little steps along the way that you get to understand, get clarity on, and then you can celebrate them as you achieve them.
Well, as some people are in a quieter stage of their business life at the moment, whether it's lockdown or for other reasons, this is a good time to make some plans and set some goals. It's also a good time to get other people around you. Now, there's a number of other points that we're going to walk through at the moment, but you mentioned Business Accelerator Mastermind. So I think it's probably worth me at this point making a bit of a disclaimer that you are my business coach and you have been for almost a decade. And I'd have to honestly say that a large part of the business success that I've achieved and our business partners have achieved is because we've had you as a business coach. So you started coaching me, you then coached my other directors at Metropole, and then over time I referred a number of clients to you and saw how you help business people, professionals, people in a whole range of industries. And then I thought, hey, this would be a great adjunct to the other services we provide at Metropole. So for over a year now, we've been business partners in Business Accelerator Mastermind. You're the founder of that, so maybe you could just give us a quick history before we get on to some more great lessons from dogs, a quick history of why did you even bother setting up this program?
Michael, Business Accelerator Mastermind came about as a result of my own experience. So in my early 20s and early 30s, I built successful professional businesses. The problem is that the only way I knew to do that was just to work really, really hard and do everything myself. And so as a result, by the time I was in my mid-30s, not only had I burnt out, but I'd burnt out to the point where quite frankly, taking my own life was a real option for me. So I realized then that there had to be a better way of doing it. And I wanted to develop something so that people could build a business that didn't rely entirely on them, that it was more than just a job, and they didn't have to go through the process of nearly killing themselves in the process, Michael.
So today there's a program to help people, mainly in Australia, but we've got clients from various parts of the world, to have one-on-one time. That's what I liked about the program when we got involved. It's a hybrid program where they have one-on-one time with you, one-on many times, a couple of times a week on digital platforms, and then a few times a year get together in a large group. Now, it's interesting that people would be thinking, I haven't got time now, I've got so many other challenges at the moment. Why would I even get involved or even think about getting a business coach today? Maybe I'll just wait till we get over that hump, we get past the bridge. What would your answer to them be, Mark?
Yeah, Michael, we sort of touched on it before, but I think there's three ways of thinking at the moment. And you and I have spoken about this on a number of occasions. The first way is that those people who are what we're calling the redliners, the people who are going to batten down the hatches, they're going to shut down everything they do, they're going to trim down as much as they possibly can. Problem is that what's going to happen is they're probably going to fail. They're probably not going to make it to the other side because they will close things down unless they've got enormous reserves to be able to carry them through. They're probably not going to get there. The next group of people are the people that we sort of call on the amber line or the yellow line. They're the people who are saying, well, I'm not going to completely batten down the hatches, but I'm not going to take any steps to move my business forward. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep running until I get to the other side. The problem with that is that what's going to happen is they're going to be no further advanced in their business, in their practice. The only thing they will have done is they will have lost that time. They won't have taken themselves any further. And then there's the third group, Michael. They're the people who are stepping up. They're the people who are becoming leaders in their business and leaders in their industry. And they're taking the opportunity now to take advantage of the opportunities that exist in the here and now, but also gear themselves up so that when we do reach the other side, they're actually in a running start. They're not starting from scratch. They're not starting behind the eight ball, if you like. So they're the people who would take the time to invest in themselves right now.
Well, there's an old song, isn't there? When the going get tough, the tough get going. So this is the time to step up. And if you're interested in stepping up, find out a bit more about this program, Business Accelerator Mastermind. There'll be a link in the show notes, but go to Metropole Mastermind. And if you'd like to have a chat with Mark to see if it's appropriate for you, whether there'd be some benefit, leave your details, no obligation, have a chat and see what you could learn from Mark, not just from dogs. Let's get back to learning a few more lessons from dogs. Mark, one of the things I love about dogs, and they are different to cats, is they're loyal, they're dependable, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're incredibly loyal. They're pack animals. So I've got a good friend who's a dog trainer and dog handler, and you've met Martin, and he often talks about the link of dogs back to wolves, and that's how this sort of pack mentality came. But the thing is that we all have a pack. And so, for example, in business or professional practice or just in life in general, it's either a pack of our family, our colleagues, our suppliers, contractors, whoever it might be. Dogs understand who their pack is. So at home here for me, my dogs, I'm the leader of their pack. And so they're incredibly loyal. They show great dependability. So I think it's a great opportunity to ask yourself two questions. In relation to your pack, how loyal are they to you, and when was the last time you showed them appreciation for that loyalty? And then secondly, how do you repay that loyalty? How do you show loyalty back to your pack as well? Because my dogs show great loyalty and dependability to me, and I reward them by looking after them and treating them well and giving them pats and walks and feeding them well, and etc. So it's probably a good time to ask that question about you and your pack.
Well, I think if we asked our cats who's the leader of the pack, it would be a very different answer, Mark, to what you get by asking your dogs. There's 2 more lessons in this 10 things dogs can teach us. What's the second last lesson, Mark?
It's a pretty simple one, and it might sort of seem like it doesn't relate much to business or practice or property investment or life, but dogs drink lots of water. And one of the things that I've learned over the years, Michael, is just the value of drinking water and looking after yourself. And one of the things that we've spoken about across these sort of 10 things that dogs have taught us is part of it is about enjoying the journey and looking after ourselves. And we can't enjoy the journey and look after ourselves if we don't get the basics right. It's probably like anything in life, really, isn't it? We have to get the basics right first. So drink lots of water. They know when they need it. They don't dehydrate. They go find water, and we should do exactly the same thing.
Right. And the last of the 10 life lessons that dogs can teach us, Mark?
Dogs love unconditionally. I'm not talking about romantic love or holding hands or any of those sorts of things, but I'm talking about love in terms of affection, support, loyalty, attention, gratitude, appreciation, the things that those dogs just do unconditionally. There's no, well, I'll only appreciate you if you do take me for a walk. They just appreciate you for exactly who you are and what you're doing at the time. So I guess the thing that I would ask for people in business or in professional practice, or really, Michael, just in life in general, is when was the last time that you actually acknowledged something that somebody's done for you? When was the last time that you acknowledged what your colleagues or members of your pack have actually done for you? When was the last time you actually showed them some unconditional love and appreciated them? And just take the time to feed that positive mentality in your mind so that it feeds into what you do on a daily basis.
Well, there you have it. 10 things that dogs can teach us that you can apply not only in your business but in life in general. Now, something I've learned from my cats is, and I'd like to add it, that they sleep all day. There's 2 of them sleeping around me at the moment. It's a nice sunny day here in Melbourne. They sleep near the window where they get the warmth of the sun coming in. Maybe that's something we should do too, enjoy our lives a little bit more along the way, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. One of the things I often say is that, make sure that you spend time with those who matter most and you take time to enjoy life, because that's why we do what we do at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is. So, 10 lessons you can learn from dogs, ways of improving your life in these interesting times. Thanks for our chat again today, Mark.
Yeah, it's always good fun, Michael.
My pleasure. Well, I hope you learned some lessons from dogs today to help you become a bit more successful in the next stages of your life. Another quick lesson to learn from dogs is that dogs give everyone a chance. They don't have preconceived ideas. They try anything once. Again, they don't have preconceived ideas. As we're working through our challenging times in the world at the moment, be open to new ideas. Get the right people around you, get the right mentors around you, and why not consider having Mark Creedon as your coach and join Metropol's Business Accelerator Mastermind. I'll be back in a couple of days' time for my regular twice a week Michael Yardney podcast. But in the meantime, if you got some benefit from this, if you learned something about life in general, why not share it with somebody else who'd get some benefit as well? Part of my aim is to make as many people as financially fluent and as successful as possible. So share the message, and if you really liked it, leave a message on iTunes or wherever you listen to this podcast. I'd very much appreciate that. Look forward to catching up with you soon. In the meantime, have a great week. Make it a great week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Michael Yardney podcast, which was brought to you by Metropol, who help their clients grow, protect, and pass on their wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. If you like what you heard and don't already subscribe, you'll find us on iTunes or on your favorite Android app as the Michael Yardney podcast. Watch out for our next show, which comes to you twice a week, and you'll learn some new ideas about property investment, success, and money in around 30 minutes. To get more of Michael's thoughts, go across to www.propertyupdate.com.au and sign up for his daily morning briefing, and you'll hear from not only Michael but a group of leading property success and money experts. And just a reminder that the information you heard in this show today is general educational advice and not specific investment advice, as we don't know your personal circumstances. If you're looking for specific advice, why not ask the team at Metropole to help you?